Welcome, friends, to our journey back in time to a story of incredible courage, hidden providence, and a destiny that would save a nation. This is the story of Esther, a young Jewish woman whose life takes an unexpected turn, placing her at the heart of the mighty Persian Empire. Our story begins in the city of Susa, the capital of Persia, under the rule of the powerful King Xerxes. After deposing his queen Vashti for her disobedience, King Xerxes launches a search for a new queen, a woman of unparalleled beauty and grace, to share his throne. Young women from all over the empire are brought to the palace, and among them is a beautiful Jewish orphan named Hadassah, whose name we will come to know as Esther. Esther was raised by her older cousin Mordecai, a kind and devout man who worked as an official at the king's gate. He loved Esther as his own daughter and had instructed her to keep her Jewish identity a secret, a crucial piece of advice that would shape her future. As Esther was taken to the palace, her beauty and gentle spirit captivated everyone, especially Haggai, the custodian of the women. He showed her favor, providing her with the best treatments and attendance. For 12 months, Esther and the other young women underwent preparations, beautifying themselves with oils and perfumes for their turn to meet the king. When Esther's time finally came, she asked for nothing more than what Haggai suggested. Her humility and natural grace shone brighter than any jewel. The moment King Xerxes laid his eyes on her, he was enchanted. He loved Esther more than any of the other women, and he placed the royal crown upon her head, making her the new queen of Persia. Imagine the grandeur, the celebration. A great banquet was held in Esther's honor. Yet, amidst all the splendor, Esther remained humble and obedient to Mordecai's guidance, never forgetting her roots or the secrets she carried. Meanwhile, a dark plot was brewing within the palace walls. Mordecai, ever watchful at the king's gate, overheard two of the king's officers, Bigthana and Teresh, conspiring to assassinate kings. He immediately sent word to Queen Esther, who in turn informed the king, giving full credit to Mordecai. The plot was investigated. The two men were found guilty and executed, and Mordecai's loyalty was recorded in the royal chronicles. This seemingly small event would later play a pivotal role in the destiny of the entire Jewish people. Soon after, a new figure rose to power in the kingdom, Haman, and King Xerxes promoted him to the highest position, second only to the king himself. All the royal officials at the king's gate were commanded to kneel down and pay honor to Haman. But Mordecai, faithful to his God, refused to bow to any man. Haman's pride was wounded. Day after day, he saw Mordecai's defiance, and his anger grew into a venomous hatred. When he learned that Mordecai was a Jew, his rage extended beyond one man to an entire people. Consumed by his wicked pride, Haman devised a monstrous plan. He went to King Xerxes, poisoning his mind with lies. He claimed there was a certain people scattered throughout the kingdom whose customs were different and who disobeyed the king's laws. He offered a massive sum of silver to the royal treasury to have them all destroyed, in women and children, a single day. The king, tragically swayed by his trusted advisor, handed his signet ring to Haman, giving him the authority to carry out his terrible decree. Letters were sent out to every province, sealed with the king's ring, ordering the annihilation of all Jews on the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. When Mordecai learned of the decree, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and wailed loudly in the streets of Susa. A wave of great mourning swept through the Jewish communities across the empire. There was fasting, weeping, and wailing. The news reached Queen Esther in the palace, and she was deeply distressed. She sent clothes to Mordecai, but he refused to be comforted. Esther sent one of her trusted attendants to find out what was troubling him. Mordecai revealed Haman's entire plot and gave him a copy of the edict, urging him to tell Esther to go before the king, to plead for her people, to beg for their lives. This was a terrifying request. No one, not even the queen, could approach the king uninvited. The penalty for doing so was death, unless the king extended his golden scepter. Esther had not been called to see the king for 30 days. Her own life was at stake. She sent a message back to Mordecai, explaining the grave danger. Mordecai's reply was a turning point, a powerful call to destiny that echoes through the ages. He told her, "Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" These words struck Esther's heart. She understood. Her position, her beauty, her life at all had a purpose beyond the palace walls. It was a divine appointment. Steeling herself with newfound courage, she made a decision that would seal her fate and the fate of her people. She sent a final message to Mordecai: "Go gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." For 3 days, a unified prayer of desperation and hope rose from the Jewish community. On the 3rd day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the palace in front of the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne, facing the entrance. When he saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she found favor in his eyes. He held out to her the golden scepter that was in his hand. Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. Her life was spared. The king asked her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be given you." But Esther, with wisdom and patience, did not reveal her plea just yet. Instead, she invited the king and Haman to a banquet she had prepared for them that day. The king agreed, and Haman was summoned. He was overjoyed, thinking he was being specially honored. At the banquet, as they were drinking wine, the king again asked Esther for her request. Again, she deflected, inviting them both to another banquet the next day, promising she would then reveal her petition. Haman left the palace that day with a heart full of pride and joy, but his mood soured instantly when he saw Mordecai at the king's gate, still refusing to bow. He went home, and incited by his wife and friends, he ordered a towering gallows, 75 feet high, to be built, on which to hang Mordecai the very next morning. But God was at work, even in the sleepless night of a king. That night King Xerxes couldn't sleep. He commanded the book of the Chronicles, the record of his reign, to be brought and read to him. It was found written that Mordecai had exposed the plot against his life. The king asked, "What honor and recognition has Mordecai received for this?" His attendants replied, "Nothing has been done for him." Just then, Haman entered the outer court, ready to ask the king's permission to hang Mordecai. Before he could speak, the king asked him, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Haman, in his arrogance, thought to himself, "Who is there that the king would rather honor than me?" So he described the lavish ceremony. "Let the man wear a royal robe the king has worn and ride a horse the king has ridden, led by one of the king's most noble princes, proclaiming before him, 'This is what is done for the man the king delights to honor.'" The king then commanded Haman, "Go at once, get the robe and the horse, and do just as you have suggested for Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Do not neglect anything you have recommended." What a stunning reversal. Haman, utterly humiliated, had to lead Mordecai through the city streets, bestowing upon his enemy the very honor he had coveted for himself. He rushed home in shame and grief. That evening, Haman was hurried to Esther's second banquet. As they were drinking wine, the king asked for a third time, "Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted." This was the moment. Taking a deep breath, Esther finally revealed her heart. "If I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life, this is my petition, and spare my people, this is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated." The king was shocked. "Who is he? Where is the man who has dared to do such a thing?" Esther replied, her voice steady and clear. "An adversary, an enemy, this vile Haman." Haman was terrified. The king, enraged, got up and went out into the palace garden. When he returned, he found Haman had fallen on the couch where Esther was reclining, begging for his life. In a final, fateful misunderstanding, the king thought Haman was assaulting the queen. The king's fury was sealed. He gave the order, and Haman was hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. The reversal of fortune was complete. On that day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the estate of Haman. Mordecai was brought before the king, and the king took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. Esther appointed him over Haman's estate, but the danger was not over. The evil decreed to destroy the Jews was still in effect, and a law of the Medes and Persians could not be. Esther again fell at the king's feet, weeping, begging him to put a stop to Haman's wicked plan. The king, moved by her pleas, allowed Esther and Mordecai to write a new decree in the king's name and seal it with his ring. So a new edict was sent out across the empire, granting the Jews in every city the right to assemble and protect themselves, to destroy any armed force that might attack them, and to plunder the property of their enemies. On the 13th day of Adar, the day originally set for their destruction, the Jews were instead empowered to defend themselves. On that day, they triumphed over their enemies. To commemorate this miraculous deliverance, Mordecai established the festival of Purim, a time of feasting and joy, of sending gifts to one another and giving to the poor, a celebration of how their sorrow was turned into joy and their mourning into a day of celebration. The story of Esther is a powerful testament to courage, faith, and divine providence. It shows us that even when God seems silent or hidden, his hand is always at work, weaving together events, both big and small, for his ultimate purpose. Esther, a young woman in a foreign land, rose to the challenge of her destiny, risking everything for her people. Her story reminds us that we too may be placed in our circumstances for such a time as this, called to act with courage and faith for a purpose greater than ourselves. Thank you for joining us for this incredible story. If it has inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe for more animated stories from the pages of history. Until next time, may you find your own courage for the path ahead.